we bring you a discussion on important bills passed by Parliament in the budget session. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Kumar Rakesh, journalist.
We will be discussing some of the significant bills that have been passed by Parliament in the budget session. It was a short session, but very significant, apart from the union budget and some important discussions. Some other bills were passed. The Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Bill, which Minister Jitendra Singh said that curbing unfair means, paper leaks, and other malpractices. Mr. Tandon, how do you see, how significant is the bill?
Before we come to this particular legislation, let me remind our listeners that this budget session, which is normally for the purposes of vote on account, as we call it, or an interim budget session, this was the last session of the 17th Lok Sabha. And as we know, it commenced on January 31st. And it had only on total 9 sittings over 11 days. And the budget session, of course, was extended by a day to enable essential government business, including a white paper, which was tabled on the floor of the House by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and also a special discussion on the Ram Mandir, the finance bill, which was passed by both houses of Parliament. And that completes the process of the vote on account or the interim budget, because the general elections are due in April-May, and the final budget would be presented by the new finance minister when the new Lok Sabha is formed, and then there will be a formal budget session also. But another very important and significant feature of this particular budget session was that the entire session of both the houses was held in the new Parliament House building, perhaps for the first time. And also the joint session which the President addressed was also held for the first time in the new building. Now, these were very significant aspects of this session, as you very rightly said, which was a very brief session, but it was very significant and very important. Now, coming back to the bills which were passed in this session, I think when we come to the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Bill, let me first talk about 3 very, very important bills relating to the Jammu and Kashmir reservation bills, for which were taken up and passed also by both houses of Parliament. And they were all passed by voice vote. And these included the Jammu and Kashmir Local Bodies Law Amendment Bill 2024, the Constitution Jammu and Kashmir Scheduled Caste Order Amendment Bill 2024, the Constitution Jammu and Kashmir Scheduled Tribe Order Amendment Bill 2024. And see, then, as you asked, we can discuss this Public Examination Prevention and Unfair Means Bill, which was piloted by the Minister of State for PMO, Mr. Jitendra Singh. And it was also passed without any hitch.
Yeah, since you mentioned the bills related to Jammu and Kashmir, and they were very significant, particularly the backward sections, the Dalits and the tribals. They had not been getting reservation in local bodies in Jammu and Kashmir for a long, long time. In fact, in jobs and other sectors where scheduled tribes, scheduled caste and backward sections of society, they have been getting their reservation in other parts of the country, but not in Jammu and Kashmir. But they now have started getting it after Article 370 was repealed. What do you think, how significant is extension of reservation to OBCs, Dalits and tribals in the local bodies?
After abrogating Article 370, it was incumbent upon the government, because the Jammu and Kashmir had become a union territory. And in fact, the interim budget which Nirmala Sitharaman presented also presented the interim budget for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So therefore, the things for which the people of Jammu and Kashmir had been deprived all along during the so many decades due to Article 370 are to be undone now. And therefore, these bills, all the 3 bills are significant, because Jammu and Kashmir also will be going to the polls and local bodies elections, etc. So I think these bills were very important, and these bills have been now will give an opportunity to all these sections of the society to participate in the normal life of Jammu and Kashmir. So I will be coming back to the main bills which were passed during this session. As we said, 3 bills. Then there was a Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Amendment Bill 2024, the Constitution Scheduled Tribe Order Amendment Bill 2024. So all these things were also very significant. But I think if I come back to the white paper first, because this is the first time the NDA government has tabled a white paper, which was, of course, tabled by the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and it compared 10 years of economic management, or rather, as we use the word, the mismanagement of the Congress-led UPA government with that of Narendra Modi's 10 years government. And the discussion on this white paper took place in both houses of parliament. And highlight of the white paper as far as the finance minister goes, and she alleged, in fact, the shortage of defense ammunition under the UPA government. And she gave the example that there were no bulletproof jackets. And then she said the UPA did not put the nation first. They left the economy in tatters. Economy was in crisis.
She also mentioned about how the banking sector was hollowed during the UPA time. NPA runs so high and all the public sector banks were running in so much of huge losses. So NDA government has effected a turnaround that is very much reflected in the record profit we are seeing in the banks. She also spoke about national security concerns, and she said that that was compromised due to the political reason by the UPA. But so there is a criticism also from opposition parties that what was the point of bringing a white paper 10 years after that UPA government is gone? So how do you see it?
No, because during the discussion on general budget in both houses of parliament, there was criticism from the opposition benches about the performance achievements of the Modi government. So therefore, the government thought it incumbent to at least apprise the nation through parliament what exactly was the comparison of the 10 years of UPA government vis-a-vis the 10 years of the Modi government. And in fact, every government has a right to bring a white paper on any issue of national importance. And in this case, because of criticism by opposition benches, nothing has been done by the Modi government. So they wanted to compare the two regimes, which they did very successfully. Now, coming back to the budget, as we call it, an interim budget, although it's not a regular budget, but there was a discussion on this budget as well. And the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman took the House into confidence and said that the increase in the allocation of infrastructure sector is now 11.11 lakh crore for financial year 2025, and which will be 3.4% of the gross GDP, gross domestic product. And the total receipts of the government, excluding borrowings, were estimated at 27.56 lakh crore in 2023-24, and the tax receipts at 23.24 lakh crore. And the government also announced a rupee 1 lakh corpus for long-term financing of tax-savvy youth with a 50-year interest-free loan.
Praises that the budget has received, that despite coming in the election year now, like elections are going to be held within 2 months, the government has avoided any populist schemes. Often political parties have this tendency of coming out with, large welfare schemes ahead of elections to woo voters. But this time the government has avoided those kind of schemes.
If you recall, at the very outset of the budget session, the Prime Minister, while addressing the media, said that keeping in with the convention of Indian parliamentary democracy system, we will refrain from making any promises, assurance, or launching new schemes, or even, in fact, giving any kind of, as we normally expect about the taxes, etc. That, he said, it will be left for when the new government is formed, of course, which he said that his own government is coming back to power in 300 days. But keeping in the convention, this was an interim budget which was restricted only to the getting approval of the House for the vote on account purposes. So therefore, no major policy announcements were made or no concessions, etc. were announced, which is in keeping with the parliamentary convention. One thing we should not forget, that this session was the last session of the 17th Lok Sabha also. And there was a reference to what exactly this Lok Sabha has achieved. It was listed by both the presiding officer, the speaker talked about it in the Lok Sabha, and the vice president, who is chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he also talked about the achievements of the 17th Lok Sabha.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his speech in Lok Sabha on the last day, on Saturday, It was more sort of a farewell speech to all the members because many of them are not going to come back. So he was very categorical that this is one of the most productive and in terms of reform, game-changing Lok Sabha we have seen.
But the Prime Minister, while speaking in the Parliament, he said the past 5 years of the BJP-led government were about reform, perform, and transform in the country. And then he mentioned abolition of the triple talaq, abrogation of Article 370, and introducing 33% women reservation and building of Ayodhya Ram Temple. And these are some of the achievements of the 17th Lok Sabha, which saw a productivity level of 97%.
And one significant point he made was that many decisions for which many generations had been waiting for decades, those were accomplished in this 17th Lok Sabha. So that was remarkable.
Yes, and in fact, talking about Ram Mandir, for which there was a special discussion in both houses of parliament on the extended day, the Prime Minister also spoke about it. And he said that the Pran Pratishtha ceremony of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, it will give constitutional powers to the future generations of the country, take pride in its heritage. He said the resolution comprises Samvedana, Sankalp, and Sahanubhuti, along with the mantra of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The Prime Minister said that the Parliament will continue to inspire its members to leave behind a legacy for future generations and work to fulfill the dreams and aspirations of the future generation with the collective effort of all its members. On this very positive note, the 17th Lok Sabha came to an end. The Home Minister Amit Shah also echoed the sentiments of the Prime Minister when he said that no one can read the history of this country by ignoring the Ram Mandir movement and the dream of the grand temple at Ayodhya, and this was fulfilled during the Modi government. Amit Shah said, those who imagine a country without Lord Rama do not know the country well, and they represent the days of colonialism. So I think the last day was very eventful.
This issue has now become so much acceptable to almost all the political parties because we did not see criticism from any political party.
Of course, I think by and large accepted by all sections of the opposition as well, as you very rightly said. I think there was a mention of Bharat Ratnas also echoed in Parliament, especially in the Rajya Sabha. The Bharat Ratna conferred upon Chaudhary Charan Singh. In fact, the Vice President, the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he took a very strong exception to the kind of language which was sought to be used by some of the opposition leaders. He said that Chaudhary Charan Singh, he stood for impeccable public life, unimpeachable integrity and commitment to farmers. He said he has seen with his eyes the ruckus, chaos, condemnation, shouting, etc. should stop. He did not allow this to happen. So the Bharat Ratna issue also figured during the fag end of the Parliament session. So it was an eventful session and productive beyond imagination. There was no disturbance from day one. Even the opposition also very positively and constructively participated in the deliberations. And it was, in fact, some members mentioned perhaps this is after a very long time. This is the first session where there have been no disturbances and no slogan shouting, no walkout, etc. But by and large, I think it was a very productive session. During the farewell speeches by the retiring member, also there was a widespread appreciation of the performance of the retiring members, their role, their contribution in the Parliament proceedings. And it was a very touching scene when you see 68 retiring members participating in the farewell speeches, and then Prime Minister towards the end praising their contribution. So 17th Lok Sabha was historic in many ways.
Thanks, Mr. Tandon.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on important bills passed by Parliament in the budget session. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Kumar Rakesh, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 92890 94044.